Hi there, it's September 20th, 2020. I'm Drutter, and today is approaching 200th day of my lockdown diary. I'm not keeping exact track anymore, and I don't really think it matters because we are in a permanent state of emergency now here in British Columbia and in Canada and pretty much the rest of the world, at least the Western world, anyone cooperating with the United States and this pandemic that continues on and is now promised to go for many years now, not a couple of years now, many years now, they're saying. At least they're telling us as the official story it will be many years, and this is just the beginning of the changes to society they're promising us. So, great. I'm just out here in my garden. It's that time of year, doing a little bit of harvesting. Harvesting some potatoes. Oh, not bad. Got a couple of squash plants with a few squash coming along again. Here's another one here. And the other plant is over here, and it also is doing well with a nice sized squash here, probably almost ready. And I have another small bean crop coming up here for a fall harvest in a couple of weeks. I've been canning a ton of tomatoes as they become ripe, but there is also still a fair bit more here. And I'm harvesting some burdock root. A lot of people think that is a pest, but it actually is very delicious. The root can be fried or steamed. And I just pulled up my potato plants. I had, I think, 4 or 5 along the side of the shop. Those are done now. And this is the daily tomato haul. There's about that much every day from my 7 plants out in the garden. And up here I have the oregano that's going to seed. And I just wanted to mention a couple things maybe about food at this time of year. It has been plentiful, not bad anyway, for food supplies at the store in most areas now after a scary March, April, and May for a lot of people as we realized the store shelves had emptied out and were not replenished. That has alleviated to some degree over the summer months. But I am just here to say that food prices have come down a little bit, food availability has come up a little bit. That might mean it's a good time to buy some food, actually, if you have been eating through your supply, or you just, it's time to get some groceries. Now it's time to get actually a little bit extra than just your regular groceries. Now is the time where the squirrels are putting the nuts in the oak tree and keeping it safe for the winter, because that's what we need to be doing. We need to be putting some nuts away so we can pull them out later in the winter. I just did a big post on Steam and Hive. I'll link to that down below on tomatoes and tomato harvest and the canning of tomatoes. I just canned a whole bunch of tomatoes a couple of times, and we'll be doing some more this coming week as well. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, other than food and storing some food away for the winter, and hopefully people are taking the coming food shortage seriously, is another part of the pandemic, which is the testing and the urgency and the results and the way that the media interprets all these test results. Here's my take on it anyway, as I sit out here in the garden. We have a record number of tests being done, and they even admit that. I'll put a link to that down below, but they are admitting that they are doing record number of tests right now. And so when you do record number of tests, you either get positive or negatives for those, and they are getting a record number of positive test results, and you see that all over the media. But what you don't see is the record number of negative test results as well. If there's a record number of tests being done, then there is a record number of negatives and a record number of positives being generated, but you don't hear about all those negative test results. There's a lot of people who have been tested negative. That's unfortunate in my opinion, because we are trying to get herd immunity, but the point here is they only report the fact that there are more positive test results right now, and that is to drive fear. And heavy mainstream reporting on that. No, number of positive test results at record numbers. And then quietly they mention, yeah, and we're doing a record number of tests as well. A little bit of logic tells you how that works. And a lot of misleading graphics and headlines in the media, and that is driving fear. That in turn justifies the lockdown, at least in some people's eyes. It's justifying the lockdowns, the state of emergency, all the restrictions, and of course more testing. And then when you do more testing, you get a record number of positive test results for the media, and so on. So this is all manufactured, right? There is a small health pandemic going on. It's mostly behind us. We flattened the curve long ago, and now it is being misused, and it's being used for political reasons, and not just political reasons, but essentially a takeover of the free world, essentially the takeover of everything, of the economy, of politics, of culture, of whether or not we can see our families. So, it is a problem that the media is hyping only the fact that there is a record number of positive test results. They don't mention the fact that they're getting a record number of negatives as well, and the fact that they're doing a record number of tests. Of course you're going to be getting a record number of positives. And the other thing they don't mention is that there's almost no deaths. There's almost nobody anymore dying of this illness, even with trying as hard as they can to get as many of the numbers as they can. There's like 2, 3 people here and there dying, and that's sad, but there's 2 and 3 people dying here and there of lightning strikes as well. We have to take this into perspective and what we are doing and changing society based on these tiny numbers of deaths. They can only justify the lockdown based on cases, and of course there's cases. There's cases of the flu as well. They're not doing a lockdown for that. There's cases of TB out there still. I was looking into genealogy recently, and a lot of people died of TB, including in my family. My grandfather almost died of TB when he was in the war as a medic. He came back with TB because he got it in the hospitals down there in the war, overseas, Second World War. So, people died of TB a ton, and they called it consumption back then because it basically just ate your calories away. Just you coughed and you hacked and you couldn't keep food down, and you were burning through all your calories, and you just basically wasted away and coughed yourself to death from pneumonia, and they called it consumption, and so many people died of it. Now, they did not lock down society. Everyone got to decide their own level of risk and whether or not they'd go out into public and whether or not they'd wear masks and everything. It was all done by the person. The only difference now is we live in a tyrannical society that is bent on locking us down. And I think that once we are fully locked down and cowed and submitting to the system, that there will be something else. I don't think it's going to stop there. Okay. So, and I know it's not going to stop there. I know it is not. So it has long ago been time to do something about this. And now, of course, in Australia, you are arrested and imprisoned and kept away from your family and lawyers if you participate in planning an anti-lockdown protest. They are even locking up people in Australia now for being against locking up people for no reason. Literally. You can say, I'm against all these people being locked up, and you will become one of the next people locked up. That is what's happening in Australia. That's the laws that they're passing right now, and the ways that they're acting right now. So, you think that's only going to be in Australia? You don't think that's going to be coming to Canada, coming to New Zealand, coming to Britain, coming to the rest of Europe, coming to the United States? Of course it is. And it is in a lot of those places already anyway. The record number of tests is generating a record number of positive test results, of course. The problem is that is causing heavy mainstream reporting on the test results that are positive only, scaring people. Look, there's people that are sick. You don't want to get it. You don't want to get it. They don't mention that no one's dying. It's criminal what's happening right now, even with the inflated death numbers. Almost no one is dying. And we're changing society completely because of that. We've destroyed the economy. Half of all restaurants will never reopen. Half of all small businesses will never reopen. This is changing people's livelihoods, changing people's lives, restructuring society, empowering big corporations and government. It's all to justify the lockdown, the state of emergency, restrictions, and then of course, more testing. No mention of the record number of negative test results or the fact that there's almost no deaths. I'm going to leave it there, and I will talk to you soon. I hope this does not go to 300 days of lockdown and then on to a year in the spring, but we shall see. They are promising many years of harsh restrictions, even if everyone gets the mandatory vaccine they're promising, threatening. Talk to you guys soon.